I make sure that the tapestry of the women's experiences that we've seen, and we're committing to a future where equality is not just going to be an ideal, but it's going to be a reality. So I think that I am so proud to be a woman in this community where so many other women touch my lives, and we all work and respect the other gender and ourselves, and whatever's out there as equals.
All right, perfect. Now, why don't you go back just 2 sentences ago and say what you said? I think that was a great line when we were talking offline.
So, Eric, I in my growth journey, I have started as a young entrepreneur, and I came to the United States in the year 2000. And it's been such a great journey that if I had to live it all over again, I would do it exactly the same way.
I
Of
love
course,
that.
apply some lessons learned, but
And
you
and
know.
and you know what? I would love to talk about those lessons learned in today's conversation.
Okay, wonderful. But yeah, but I just wanted to start off with just a little thing because it's such an important month, which means a lot to the community in terms of, the gender, right? The
Right?
women.
Yes.
So March is the month where we have not just the International Women's Day that's celebrated on March 8th, which is tomorrow, but also in the United States, it's the month-long celebration of women who basically have gives us an opportunity in March to celebrate those the work, and the relentless endeavors, the significant achievements that women have made in professional as well as in so many social fields, right? So I think for
Mhm.
me, I just wanted to start off by saying that I'm so proud that we are able to recognize these immense contribution of women across the United States, more just as a reminder and of the critical importance of advocating gender equality and the empowerment of women. So that's such an important cause. It's very close to my heart. I work with a lot of women too. And I make sure that the tapestry of the women's experiences that we've seen, and we're committing to a future where equality is not just going to be an ideal, but it's going to be a reality. So I think that I am so proud to be a woman in this community where so many other women touch my lives, and we all work and respect the other gender and ourselves, and whatever's out there as equals.
I think that's great. And it's interesting that, like you said, we are speaking during this month. Did you set that up intentionally?
You asked for it, right?
Okay, all right. And
So I
also, you
salute
know,
to all the women, the
thank
mothers,
you. So,
daughters, the
no, yeah,
children, the
absolutely.
professionals, everyone.
No, no, no. I love that. I did not know it was a global celebrated International Women's Day, but I did, of course, because being in the United
Which is
States.
tomorrow.
Ah, I
Yeah.
see that on your profile, which is tomorrow, which is amazing, right?
Mhm,
And so,
mhm.
given that, why don't we step back for the people who did not hear the first interview and just introduce yourself, tell us your name and the name of your business.
Sure. So my name is Narjis Ali, and my business, I started my company that I'm right now the president and CEO for is Sure Secure Solutions. I registered the LLC in about 2006, but we did not start operations till 2010. So we're about like almost 14 years old this year.
Okay. Okay.
Sure Secure Solutions is actually a woman-owned small business, and we have worked through the ropes, working with a number of government customers, and it is a pride and joy to have a team that is above and beyond my expectations. So I have a great team to work with, and I think that's the key fabric of our company is that we take people that matter to places that matter. That's our motto. And I think I have been very fortunate and very blessed to have a wonderful team that we've built over the years.
Wow. Wow. And it's interesting when I hear entrepreneurs and their success, they always give credit to the team. But what I found is that when you're starting off, right, choosing the right persons and the people and right, I mean, yeah, 14 years later, how do we start building that team, right? What do we start at?
See, I think there is a bit of, so I'm also a believer of sorts, right? And
Okay,
I
that's
feel
okay.
that that belief has helped me believe in myself, believe in a higher power that's around us, the power that I get from people that I meet and the people that touch my life, right? And I feel that one has to be open-minded to to be able to communicate not just with your inner self, but to communicate with people that touch your lives. And I've been fortunate to recognize the talent, but also recognize the actual person that lies behind that, physical image, right? And I
Okay.
think that, it's something I wonder how God has been very kind to me. And I have been fortunate to find people and to continue working with people and build a team of not just very skilled, but also people who are deeply rooted in values. So
Mm,
that's very important to me, right? So we feel that leadership comes with a lot of responsibility, but that saying that I once heard actually my son gave a presentation and I picked it up from him, and he said, have you ever seen a swarm of starlings, those little blackbirds, and they just suddenly come and they form a cloud around in the environment and they
right.
make shapes and they go, right? And especially in Ireland, it's a very specifically in a specific season. It's a amazing sight. And he said, we derive leadership from this swarm. Everyone is a leader and everyone is a follower. So leadership, in my opinion, my approach is that it's a fostering a culture of togetherness, a culture of continuous improvement, collaboration, and empowerment. To me, that has been a success story with me where, I mean, you can't say the odd time when something didn't go right, but mostly, generally, if I was to say, did I pick the right people to work with me? 85, 90% yes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. And, I appreciate you sharing that, right? Your faith has a lot to do with it. One thing that I've been talking to my team about, and you tell me, there's several books and bodies of work, and you said that you believe in yourself, right?
Mhm.
That's, do you look for that trait in the other people that you work with and you hire and part of your team?
You know, I would actually, when it comes to me to interview someone, after everybody's done whatever they need to do, I don't talk about, how good are you in PowerPoint or how
Right.
good have you been on, in artificial intelligence or whatever. To me, I try and get the other side of the person. What does the person bring as a whole? What's the value add to me? Just in addition to being professional and skilled in a certain way, it is a deep rooted cultural, uh, you know, absorption of the person in your culture. So they bring things, they can take away things, right? So
Okay.
to me, that's so important to say, if I add this person, he takes away from the spirit of my team because
Mm,
he may be very good in his professional, whatever he does. But, there's a so what we try to do is continuous improvement, continuous growth, not just in the skills, but also I really promote and encourage a lot of togetherness. Even though COVID was bad, we really couldn't get together so much, but we tried everything. We tried platforms like we would Slack, so people would put up a joke, show me your pet, what did you get today? Bought a new plant. It's
okay.
like it makes people connect in so many different ways. And then the respect that you get that way is not anything that you would do in a 9 to 5 job and then not know anything about the guy who comes and sits at the desk and goes away.
No, I like that. That's great. That's a great insight. It's interesting. I've been on different Slack channels and I rarely see people put entertaining things inside of Slack. It's
So
all
one guy
work.
has
It's all work oriented, right? It's like, did you get this
so
accomplished? Did you submit this form? Did you do this? Right? It's more,
all that of course, but also to encourage people to share something that's important in their life that day or at that moment in time. Like somebody's dog had whatever, he did something funny. I mean, they would just put up a little video and everybody would
right.
laugh. And,
Okay.
it's just connecting people, right? So
Right.
one of my guys I've designated to the hump day, which is Wednesday, that you must put out something, a quote, something that inspires, something that makes me laugh, or something that encourages other people. And the other guy is a closing guy on Friday. He always comes up with the most brilliant jokes to close a Friday evening, you know?
Okay. Okay. I like that. That's a good, that's something I can implement in my business.
Okay, I'm glad.
Thank you. Thank you. I can implement that in my business. Going back to your story, can you, again, we don't want to rehash everything, but you came here from
Yeah.
another country, and at the beginning you said, "Hey, you wouldn't change a thing." When you arrived in 2000, and then you started the company in 2010, but you said you formed it in 2006. What was your thought process in starting an organization?
So, I came in at a time in my life where I was going through a lot of difficulties, and I was given an opportunity to come here, and I took that, right? And I came here as a single woman, uh, three kids in tow, but they had to be sponsored, and I had to get my paperwork done and everything, when you're immigrating. So it all happened. Again, it's a belief, and it's like you struggle and you work hard, but you believe also, right? So I think when I came here, I was a professional. I started working with the company. I took on a challenge, and I started their medical transcription that they wanted to implement. Had no idea how to do that, and I was like, okay, let me take do something completely new. But I was always an IT person from the time the first mainframe landed in the country I was living in. To becoming a systems analyst, a trainee, and a software developer. I came here with that skill, and I got a job. I took a challenge, started a new transcription company for the people that I worked with. But it was tough going through and then I got an opportunity to work with U.S. Customs as a security provisioning, kind of analyst. And I took that challenge. I worked with CBP initially for 2 weeks was how I was contracted. I ended up spending 17 years there, right? So it was quite an experience. And we worked on one of the largest portals that was developed for the Customs and Border Protection. And I was just working with this incredibly amazing team of, about 1,700, 1,600 people who came from different large companies. And, I was just like one of those
Right.
people who adding to the whole
Right.
motion there. So it was just great. And then I thought of, like somebody, actually, one of my close relatives, he was just talking to me about my business. And I said, no, I'll incorporate something, but I'm just working as a subcontractor. And I was doing that for, 6 years. And they were like, you can set up a company. You got it in you to actually be a leader of some kind, right? Even if it's in the starling formation, but
Right.
I could lead some. So this guy saw the potential in me and encouraged me, and I registered the company, and slowly I started working towards getting contracts on that. I applied for my 8A. I got my 8A very quickly. I think it was record. I mean, I applied in December on the Christmas holiday. Still remember 23rd of December before we closed for the holidays. On the 19th of January, I had my 8A. And I was like,
Wow.
I can't believe it's a record with SBA too.
That's definitely a record. That was definitely.
Oh my God.
Someone did not go on a holiday that year.
Well, it was really nice. And I remember that was such an experience for me that, oh my God, I got this, right? So I
Right.
continued working. I didn't have any prime contracts. And then I was working with NASA, and I remember one of my customers, she was very happy with the way we kind of brought things together in the modernization cycle for NASA. And she said, you have an 8A company. Why don't we can give you a sole source. I'm like, what? I didn't even think of that, right? So,
Mm,
I mean, I knew I could apply for and competitive and, small business 8A set-asides, but, somebody just was good enough to recognize the talent and gave me that idea. And of course we did an unsolicited proposal, and we won that, and the rest is history. So from that time to now, NASA has been a wonderful agency to work with, first as a prime, and then when my 8A was expiring a few years ago, I was like, we need to have a strategy in place, right? And that strategy was something that came to my mind. And I said, you know what, before my 8A expires, I need to have some partnerships. So we actually partnered with large businesses who were also working with NASA at that time,
Mm-hmm.
uh, including Leidos, including Raytheon, including Booz Allen.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually teamed up with them so that the work we were doing, especially, if you are actually a company that provides services where the customer does not want to do without you, they find ways to keep you going despite what,
Right. 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 Right.
and
Right.
that's what I tell my folks. It's like the quality is the number one thing. You've got your customer to like you, to respect you, and to trust you, and be the 911 on their speed dial,
Right.
right? If
Right.
they're in
Right.
trouble.
Right. Right. Right.
So
Right.
I think that really worked well, that we not just meet customer expectations. Our policy, a quality policy, is that we have to exceed, right? And I think that once you make that impact on the customer and the customer has a trust in you, trust me, no matter how contracts change, you know how government contracts work,
Right.
right?
All the time. There's always different rules and right.
You
They have
will
new
find a way that,
programs. They've had so many programs and vehicles and stuff. So, but they
yeah,
still
so
find a
I
way.
think I think that was such a learning experience. And as I was telling you, like some of the lessons learned is you've got to be sharp, you've got to know how to be able to even sell your services, right? You need to get for example, we should have gotten our GSA contract, on time. We should have not started an 8A, when we
Right.
were not right, not
Right. Right.
aware of what it could do. I mean, 5 years down, I get a contract for an 8A. No, I should have gotten it lined up before I actually applied for my 8A.
Right.
Those are kind of lessons learned that I say that, I would have done better now, but that's what life is about. You keep growing, you keep learning, right? So,
Right. 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 It's interesting. Is that what you're sharing to the next generation, the people that you're mentoring now? Those type of
yes.
things?
Yes. So, I mentor a lot of people, and I feel that that's a lesson that I would, so many people have learned from me is line up your contract before you apply for your 8A. Of course, don't exceed the the 8A, confined boundaries that they have,
Right. Right.
but make sure that you are lined up to get the next contract as a 8A when you get it, right?
Right. 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 No, that's interesting. So, going back to your point, I've noticed that yes, you were NASA Small Business Prime Contract of the Year in 2016, 17, 19, 2022.
Yeah, I got the SBA Small Business of the Year award in 2016, I remember, and then that was a big milestone that we had done well, and of course the customers liked us, and we applied for the SBA award, and we got selected as a small business, which is a big deal because there's so many small businesses in the
Right.
country, right?
Yes,
And
thousands,
then
thousands.
NASA's recognition was amazing. We got the NASA Small Business of the Year award multiple times, 5 times, I would say. And then last year, we were protege with Leidos, and we got the Mentor Protege Year of the Award
Right.
from CCAF, and we got it from NASA. So that was good.
How do you, given like you talked about COVID and things changing, how was your business impacted by COVID?
I was, one of our biggest employee bases is in Huntsville, Alabama, where
Okay.
NASA has their, base. And I was traveling to Huntsville with two of my colleagues, and we were there for a number of days. And suddenly COVID hit, and we were told you need to get out of here, right? So we got the last flight out. Remember, the flights got stopped for a
I
while.
remember everything. Yeah, I know everything shut down. They just
Yeah. So we got
my
out of
friend was
there.
stuck out of my friend was stuck in Peru. I,
Oh, wow.
yeah, he got stuck in Peru at the time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so didn't know what we were going to do. And I actually flew back, and of course, nobody was coming into the office, and remote work was known, but it wasn't, everything was not laid out for remote working, the way it is today. So basically, had to come up and survive. Again, one of the qualities that I have is survival, right? Remember, I told you I came out of third world country,
That's
survived
true.
here, right, on my own, right?
Uh-huh.
And that survival instinct is okay, what do we do? So keep in touch, let's keep the team together, see what we do, and see how the customer will set us up also to, work for them, because not all government agencies will allow you to log in from your machine. They expect you to
Mm,
be in the office, right? So it took a few weeks and a few months, I would say. We were renting space, and I realized for 3 months after that, because you didn't know COVID is going to end in a month or 2 months or 3 months or what. So I think the first 4 months went by and we kind of adjusted, but we realized nobody's going to come to the office for a bit. So I was lucky. My lease was going up after 4 months, and I actually decided I will take, like office space in workspaces kind of environment where
right, right,
I
right,
can, we can be there if we need to. So we
right.
moved our offices. I remember COVID hit in March or something. I mean, it was discovered in December, January, but it really hit us in March.
Right,
Our lease was up in June, so we just rented these offices in Tyson's Corner. We're still there, and anyone who needed to go in would go there. But otherwise, we became remote for a while. So it just changed the lifestyle completely. I missed the 9 to 5 being with everyone, but
mm,
then we found that happy medium of, yes, people are happy to spend more time at home, right? When you are working in an office environment, sometimes you have to commute a half an hour,
right,
waste
right,
that time, go back, you're grumpy, you're tired, you don't get to spend more time with the children. So I looked at the brighter side and I was like, I was living on my own, but I know that my people were happy being at home for a while.
right,
Some wives were not happy with the husband being home all day. But I think they adjusted to
right.
it. So
I like that.
it
That's a
was
good
an
one.
experience. Eric, don't you agree? It's been such
Oh,
an
no, no,
experience
no. It's a
to
big experience.
adjust to the work.
I mean, I can tell you as a person who lives in Florida, prior to COVID, right? Remember, everyone worked in New York and they worked in all the buildings. And then after COVID, everyone moved down here.
Yeah.
We received, they said you could work anywhere. So all these people, we have an influx of New York, New Jersey people. And I can tell you that the landscape here in South Florida has changed. It's been like a great migration of people from the Northeast down to Florida because they can save on their taxes, right? Coming to
Yeah.
Florida, they can homestead their residence, and
They can
it's
look at the beach.
and they can live next to the beach. Correct, right? And it's not cold, right? I mean, it's so I can tell you, I've seen such a migration of people, and I don't. When's the last time you've been to the Miami area, South Florida?
No, I haven't. Like the last time I went was to the Kennedy Space Center, that was
Right.
pre-COVID, right?
Yeah.
I haven't been there, but I
No.
believe it's thriving.
If you look up Miami now, call it like baby New York.
Oh, wow.
High rises everywhere, tall towers going up everywhere. I mean, I think they're building 50 new towers right now as we speak. So it's just been, we've had a whole boom, influx of people, even as far as from California and New York as well. So a lot of people are moving here. A lot of the private equity funds are moving here. And so a lot of the folks that allocate capital and monies, they're now setting up regional locations and moving their
Yeah,
headquarters.
so not only savings, but like as I said, I live on my own, and my kids live in California. So my kids and my grandkids. So now I used to be like able to take out a week, 2 weeks here and there, or maximum a long weekend was what I spent with them anytime. Like
Right.
take a day and off and Friday off and be back on a red eye on Monday morning.
Uh-huh.
All that has changed, right?
Right.
So I'm able to spend more time with my children, and I feel that's so much. I can work from there. Yeah, granted, I have to start at 6 a.m., but the 3 hour time difference. But
That's
it's
okay.
okay. It's wonderful to be able to get that freedom and flexibility. I think a lot of people appreciate that,
I
just
think
to be able
so.
to.
I,
And I
I
think
absolutely agree.
it's become a culture now. It's no longer COVID. It's become a culture that we've adopted, and we've become like, working and still maintaining those standards of excellence that are so important to us for our client, yeah, right? That's our religion is,
That's our religion.
excellence,
That's our
in
religion.
whatever services we provide. So I think despite all that to be, we were so, this little thing, we were so bummed that, Lidos, when we started our mentor protege COVID hit, and we never really got physical time together.
Oh.
But, despite all that, look at it. We got the NASA Mentor Protege Award, we got the CCAP Business Award, and now we're so, so thrilled to be a protege to Booz Allen Hamilton this year at NASA, which is amazing. I mean, just the guidance, the mentorship that we get from them and the growth opportunity. I thought that was something that I would definitely recommend to small businesses, is to align themselves with some key players who can teach you a lot without having to go through the ropes yourself.
What do you think that contributed to that relationship?
Uh, Excellence and trust, right? That people who do really well, and your partner is really happy with their, just now one of, like we've just teamed with Bose on a contract, and NASA does these performance awards on a yearly basis. And one of our employees who was working for Bose was one of the 8 in the performance award. So,
Mm,
that's what strengthens the relationship, is you deliver and you have a commitment. And we were constantly in touch, trying to make sure that whatever requirements we had as a small business and were asking of the larger business, those were things that would really help us grow. And the commitment on the larger business side to actually providing that and making sure that those were quantifiable and measured goals, that smart goals that we had put out, right? Requirements that could be met and checked off to say, yeah, we got this. We helped you grow from point A to point B, right?
right.
Whether it meant growing in revenue, whether it means growing in skills, capabilities, taking us to segments where we didn't have the skills, right? And they helped us get to that. So we're very happy about our mentor-protege relationships.
No, I like that. That's can we go back down to more of a lower level for people that are where you began your journey? A lot of people like to ask about how did you finance your first project, right? Did you go to banks? Did you go to community banks? Like more like practical things. How, because when you hire IT people, they could be very expensive, right? Where do you get the resources from to hire them? Things like that.
So, as a small business, I'll go back to say that because I was working on a contract, I was generating enough money to just put a little back there to say, I will take care of my expenses. And as we started the company, we were 3 partners at that time. We said, what is the minimum that you need to survive? That's the money that you take home, right?
Right.
Otherwise, the rest goes in the company. So you build it. When you don't have money, you don't get money either, right? I mean, even though there are all those loans, when you have money, you can get more money,
You could get,
right?
oh yeah, when you have money, they give you everything you want, right?
Yeah. They'll be like, please take a line of
Right,
credit
right,
from me. I'm
right,
like,
right.
okay. When I needed it, it was hard. But SBA had some good programs. So we were okay, but it was just all organic growth. I mean, we managed to get a line of credit, but we managed to pay it back every month with our revenues and stuff like that. So it's not a good thing to get, in my opinion. I think I survived it on the way we generated money and the way we managed our expenses, keeping our overheads a little low, making sure that I worked till I needed to work, right, and that I couldn't just go on complete overhead. So for a small business, that's very important that the key members have to put in something where you have to work 18-hour days, right? It's fine. You have to
Mhm.
grow your business and you have to also work for a customer so that you are not depleting anything that you have, right?
Right.
So I think that was a key thing, which was very hard. It was very hard for me to survive those years where I had customer facing hours, the regular hours of the day, and then to work on the business side of it. But it had its rewards. So I'm so glad, because I know customer relationships so well now, and I try to maintain those, even though I'm not actively working on a project. I make it my business to make sure that I know the customer, and at a high level, my team is not just answerable to me, but I'm answerable also for making sure that the services we are providing are above and beyond their expectations. So very deeply involved with my projects. I think that's a key.
No, that's great. How long before you were able to stop working, like billable hours?
Um, I think I stopped working billable hours after 8 years, 9 years
8 years.
of,
Okay.
yeah.
That gives people context.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, like you can't survive. Like you can't keep taking loans and how do you pay them off, right? Uh, it's also very good if you are working on a project and generate part of the revenue generation, it also for me it did, maybe it doesn't for anybody else, like but it teaches you that customer interaction, how do you build the trust? You're in the middle of it, you know what's going on, right? And the customer knows that you're the go-to person if something doesn't work well, right? So I think that was a great learning experience, that yeah, you have to be there till you build a team. So I was very successful. As I said, I found these core team people who are an extension of me, right? And that comes with not just a lot of trust and hard work, but also recognizing the potential in a person. Not everybody's able to do that, right?
Right.
So you create multiple leaders, and I think, I've asked some of my folks who are working with me now at leadership positions to let go of the billable work. But it's hard for them to do that, right? They're like, no, I'm like, I'm so well integrated with the customer, which is funny, but it's
Right.
it's really nice.
No, that's interesting. I didn't think about that. They still like the billable work.
They're like, no, this is so exciting, So we'll do whatever you ask us to do, but don't take me away from here.
Don't take me
Like,
away.
okay.
Well, I think there, going back to most small businesses when they start are owner operators. So they actually do the work, and that's really what they enjoy. But maybe at their companies that they worked at before, they didn't like, for example, some of my podcast guys, they didn't like the way that the company was servicing the customer or the client. And so they started a business to take control of that relationship, but they still enjoyed the work part.
Yeah, and like I was just saying that we were talking about Slack or other ways of communication when COVID was there, but we also try that people in one place, like if I have to go to Huntsville maybe 2, 3 times a year and take everyone out for Top Golf, I'll do that, to build that interaction with people and to they enjoy that. They enjoy belonging to a company which is not just providing good services, but taking care of them and understanding their problems and having a one-on-one, from time to time. Last week we went, Tyson's has a bowling alley. Our headquarters are still out of Tyson's, Virginia. And we just went out bowling. And I can't tell you what a great time they all had. I was like, whoa, this is really nice. So it's not just team building, it's also giving them opportunity to have fun together, right?
Right,
Because it's
right,
team
right.
building. But also the goodwill, right? Of saying, I'm not just expecting you to work. We're all here in the community as a team, and we
No,
have fun.
I like that. I like that. Let me ask you, because you said your qualities is survival.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever feel, because you said sometimes when you first started, like with the medical transcription, and you said, look, I didn't know how to do that work. Do you feel that you took on work, whether it's in the early days or even now, that maybe you didn't have the capabilities to do, but you had the courage to take on the work? Or maybe you didn't have the confidence, but you had the courage?
Absolutely. Back when I migrated to the US, my company, my old original company that I'd started some years back was before I moved here, was actually software, but it was doing something very different. We didn't know our customers, we didn't know our market. When I came here, I went into this transcription. I also, cybersecurity happened because of 9/11 and whatever, right? I was not a cybersecurity person, but what is it that you cannot learn today, right? If you put your mind to it, you can learn anything. So, my folks working on one of the contracts at DHS now, I today went through a thorough list of what you can do to upskill your talent, your capability, your
Right, right, right,
profession,
right, right.
right? So there's continuous growth. And I really mean that is I am so into, like, we're living now in the age of AI and machine learning and
Mm-hmm.
everything. So, there's a lot of talk about it, but how do you continuously maintain skills and learn new ones and adapt to what your customer needs to do. I did that. If they needed me to do user provisioning or access control, I didn't know how to do all that. I jumped into it and I learned it,
You
right?
learned it, right, right.
Yeah. Audit logging. I mean, I didn't know anything about audit logging, right? So all the things that go with it, I think you have to have that mindset, which is a growth mindset, and you have to have the eagerness to learn. And you see the results very quickly.
Right. No, no, yeah. I think, well, and the reason why I asked this is because a lot of people say, well, I need to have a plan A, B, C. If this doesn't work out, this a backup plan. And as opposed to, because like you said, you didn't know some of these things, but your mindset said, I can learn it.
Yeah, so the mindset has to be a growth mindset. And like with my organization, we do at a high level, we set OKRs every year to say what are the key objectives this year, what do we
Mhm.
want to achieve this year, and then we from the high level strategic goals, which are business goals, operational excellence goals. These were the high level goals we decided this week. Business growth. What does that mean? Revenue growth, capability growth, people growth, right? So the numbers, from a one person, if I'm a 60, 70 people company today, how did we grow and what do we put out to say every year we're going to do? And then operational excellence and capabilities is one of our OKRs. We have to continue to gain operational excellence, and whether that means training, whether that means exposure in any way, learning. And then as the organizational level, we actually want to grow as a empowered team. So I want to have people, everyone has to have backups and everyone needs to make sure that they are growing to the next level and bringing someone in at that slot, right? So I think to me that's been very important. And for me to work with my strategic, leadership team on these goals and everyone agreeing to that gets everyone's stake in the, in the company to say, okay, I thought about this together. It's not just saying that I need to grow my revenue so much or I need to, figure out. So we've actually, our revenues in the last 3-4 years, because we set out those goals, the growth actually you can measure and say, in the last 4 years, my growth, and I'm not going to give you like specific
Sure.
whatever, but we've grown about 130% in our revenues, which is
Mhm.
a good growth cycle, right?
Right.
We've grown like about 300% in the last 4 years, right?
Mhm.
So,
Right.
I mean, these are good metrics, and to discuss it with your team and set up some objectives and reason, goals have to be smart. They have to be specific. They have to be achievable, right? They have to be measurable, right?
Right.
So, I think I've been very lucky that we've fostered this culture in our leadership team where we set out goals together. It's like, I'm not going to set out something that my leadership team doesn't agree with, right? Reason with me, tell me why you want to do that. But let's constantly keep going up.
You said operational excellence, and what else was the second part of that?
I said organizational growth, like in
Organizational growth. Okay.
empower the management team and make
Right.
sure that organizationally the structure is spread out in a way that everyone gets an opportunity to be able to grow in their area, right? So if somebody is managing operations, you give them an HR, you give them that, empower them to make decisions. And like I'm told now, oh, we hired this person. Oh, we have to let this person go. And I'm like, okay. So I'm trusting them for the decisions they make, right? So that's what I mean by organizational growth is you have to empower people to make decisions.
How do you think that that's changed from where we're at today to where we sat down back in 2017?
A lot has changed because, we were still, they say you're in different stages. We were in existential mode, let's say, right? From existential, we came to survival. And now we're going into the thriving mode, right? So I think those are key areas to think about as a small business is when I said I was working 8 hours of the day with the customer, then 8 hours on my own, those are, really existential, threatening days. You don't
Sure.
know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But then you go into survival and you say, okay, I'm fine. I have to continue surviving in this mode. And then you thrive and you say, now I've gotten to a place where I can allocate a budget. I can allocate things to actually add to my organizational growth, right?
Right. Right.
So I think that's what I meant by it.
No, no, yes. No, I agree. Do you think though 7 years ago that you were existential?
Mhm. Yeah,
Really?
I think so.
Because
Yeah.
you had just won the award for SBA Business of the Year.
Yeah, but we were still saying, how do I pay my employees every month? What's going to happen? We're getting this money. And that's why existential, because if I didn't work, for example, I didn't put in billable hours, I was not able to, exist,
Right.
let's put it that way. So I think existential is in the first few years, your first, 1 to 6, 7 years, you are in existential mode. You need to establish yourself, right?
Wow. Wow. That's good. I'm very happy to hear this. I'm going to share this with my son. He uh he started working with us around COVID, and he says, "Dad, it feels like we're always in startup mode." And I said, and that's your existential mode is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Um,
and yeah, that's true. I also one other thing I wanted to say is we established a very good internship program at our office. It was one of my people, our employees. She was always going that extra mile to make to give the company another another value, let's say, which is of commitment of giving back to society, right? So we always had this internship program, and I have hired. Um, initially what people we hired who had zero skills, like they were either still in school or just graduated, had no IT skills, have grown to be SMEs in their area and not just working for me, but
wow.
working for organizations that I am so proud to see what they've been able to achieve, right? So
Wow.
continuous growth, continuous improvement is something that is so close to my heart, and I'm so happy to see people grow. If your destiny is growing together, that's fine. If your destiny is growing together in a community, not necessarily in a company, so be it too. And, trust and relationship is very important at a human level, but also at an organizational level.
Uh, no, that's great. I'm very proud to hear that. I would so that's very appalling to me that you were in existential growth 7 years ago. I didn't guess that.
Yeah.
But I mean, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, right? With anyone's organizations, right? No one really
And
knows.
with government contracts, I'll just give you this one thing. I know one of me and my key team leads, we were in California at the Kennedy Space Center doing something, and we just got a notice from the government, uh, stop work immediately on this project. And we were like, what? So you know how your heart stops? Like, working with the federal government, that can happen anytime. It could be a budget cut, or it could be that they've put the budget towards something else that's a priority,
Uh-huh.
and you stop work. How do you sustain yourself?
Right.
So we had to, from the existential stage, get to a stage where we've been in positions where 2 3 months we've had to keep like 10 employees or something on the bench, right? To say, I want to let them go. I'm taking a risk here. So one other very important, I told you my survival instinct, but survival comes with risk taking, right? So that's a very key thing to remember when you're an entrepreneur is you're going to get risks. You're going to have to identify the risks of starting anything. And then you have to be prepared to mitigate them, right? How are you going to mitigate them? Sometimes it's instinctive, right? There's no written mitigation for a risk that, I mean, I didn't know NASA would tell me stop work. I was like, what? But
Right.
how do you survive, right? So those things happen in a small business. A lot of it happens, right?
Right.
So just be strong, believe in yourself and your team, and as I said, empower them. Like you're not alone. I feel I'm not alone in my business now because my team they just stand by me, which is touch wood. I need to find some wood here. But yeah, so we make collective decisions, and the power of that is so much more than me making individual decisions. You know, as a CEO, sometimes you tend to do that,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I
No.
will use my executive authority to do this, but you know what? It's much better when it's shared. And of course, you're not doing anything wrong, but when you trust people to, be part of those decisions, it is it becomes so much easier to manage.
Yes. No, I agree. I agree. Well, at what point do you think that started happening?
Uh, I think between the existential and the survival.
Right after existential. Right after.
Yeah, no, it starts happening when you build a good team first. First, you have to have
Mm,
people you can trust, right? Because otherwise, you just have to make decisions, and nobody's willing to take the risks associated with the decisions. So now, when you make a collective decision, you're all agreeing to the risks also, right?
right.
So
Right.
I think that helps.
Right. Tell me about the organization that you're a part of now, Silicon Valley,
Oh yeah,
Open Silicon Valley.
I'm a very social person, you know that, right? I love to party socially, but I also love to party professionally, right?
Right. Right.
So
Okay.
it gives me great pleasure to be part of certain organizations, which are also like the Open organization, which is the Open is stands for an entrepreneurial organization that are chapters in various parts of the United States. One is the DC chapter, and there is a Silicon Valley chapter, which is a huge chapter of business professionals, entrepreneurs, right, mainly. So it helps me um, learn a lot, not just mentor people, but also learn from people's experiences, and they're not hesitant to share it. You've got such great leaders in the Silicon Valley too, and in DC, but DC is more federal business, right?
Right.
More, businesses around IT focus on federal government.
Right.
But in Silicon Valley, it's a different beast. It's all kinds of,
Right.
um, innovations, all kinds of technologies, all kinds of things happening. So I'm so happy that this year I got to be a charter member in Silicon Valley too. So it gives me exposure to a lot of, professionals that I can learn from and also contribute to in I can help in the GovCon sector, right? But
Right.
here it's more any business is a good business. And you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize somebody was doing this, right? And they're so successful. And the growth, I met with this gentleman. Um, he's he's the middle tier at Amazon, and he's the highest, the people that are in the middle tier of the seller and Amazon, right? And I was like, I didn't even think that existed. And
Yeah.
the
What?
guy
Right.
is a multi-billionaire in 2 years. I'm like, what? You know, so you learn so much. And I think the open chapters have helped me not just make a lot of good friends and connect socially, but also learn a lot and be able to contribute a lot. So we are actually having an annual event in DC for the open chapter, and I'm part of the committee where we have good speakers come in, we have people who mingle, learn about each other, So those kind of opportunities where you can actually be learning from the communities and giving back is a great thing to know and exercise, because I think a lot of people get so involved with their business that they forget that there's an outside world that they can learn a lot from, So these kind of organizations help you, connect with like-minded people. I also am part of a couple of social endeavors. So I'm part of a cancer hospital that's in 3 cities in Pakistan. So we do a lot of, they treat, they're the largest hospitals in Asia for cancer treatment. And 75 to 80% patients are treated free of cost because they can't afford cancer care. So we raise a lot of funds for them. We try and promote some programs for them. So I'm part of that. And there's a educational endeavor that I'm very deeply now excited about committing more and more to is Teach the World Foundation. It is basically so many countries in the world. There's so many kids who don't have access to schools, right? So what we do is we provide tablets, and we provide digital education, especially develop programs in the Boston area that some of our team members are very committed to creating, to just help them with basic literacy, which means read, write, and do basic math.
Mm.
So just giving access to children who are household help in these countries. They don't have access to school. They come home, so we give them like a 2-hour session every day after their work day or in the evening. So they're multiple 2-hour sessions. So they can be part of a 2-hour session and create some model schools in remote villages where people can just come and learn to be literate. Don't have any grading or any classes or,
Right, right, right. And
just
you,
basic.
right. And you find probably most of these people volunteer because they want to learn, right?
Yes.
They're
Yes. So these are volunteer organizations,
right.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, the people that do it, they sign up because they want to become literate.
Yes,
Right.
and for them it's an opportunity. I mean, where do you get access to digital education, right? We can't afford it. You don't have access in schools, so it's been a great journey, and I hope I can continue to contribute more as we go, and inspire more people to be part of such things. We have to give back to the community. It is as much as you get from it, you owe double.
I like that. Yo, double. I like that. Uh, so tell me, how do you see, right, your organization growing? Like, I mean, you've been at it now, like you said, 14 years. What do you think is going to happen in the next 5, 7 years?
Yeah, so I think in the next 5 years, I'm looking at, so one of our key objectives was to not just retain our customer base and make sure that we add longevity to the services we're providing, but
Okay.
also acquire new customers.
Okay.
So make inroads, especially we're working in the government agencies. It's very important to find new customers that will grow, that will benefit by your experience, or you benefit by getting into a different market in the government sector. But also we are wanting to grow, as I said, to upskill ourselves, to come with skills that we don't have today. So we have we do a lot of data analytics, we do a lot of development, and we're going into AI now. So maybe some product development is what I see coming up
Okay.
next. Getting more skills in the AI and machine learning segment and see how we can use them. So I think those are areas: new customers, retaining existing customers, and increasing our skills and capabilities to serve better.
I like it. I like it. I like it. So you don't sound like you're taking your foot off the gas.
I think that this is the year I'm not going to. And then I get so excited about things that I'm back. And my kids tell me, I thought you were going to retire now. I'm like, what do I do? I can't get. I mean, it's such a blessing, right?
Right.
So it happens when it happens, but it's a pleasure to see people grow. And today, if I was to remove myself from where I am, yeah, my excitement would become less. But I think I've built something which is of value, and
Right.
I have some leadership that is incredible, which can take on decisions and continue. So that's what it is. You have to be dispensable, not indispensable in every case. And I'm very fortunate that I've been able to get to that stage from the time I spoke to you last. Is Yeah, if Narjis is not there, will life stop? No, it won't.
That's great. That's good. No, that's great because I don't think very many small businesses could say that.
Yeah, so it's been hard, but I'm, again, as I say, blessings, but hard work, and an objective thinking where you set goals for yourself and you know that you want to do this. Sometimes we don't even know, as small businesses, we don't never think that we'll give up, right? We'll never
Right.
think that this business will run without us, right? And I think that's the mindset which I've had to develop in myself, to say, I can't be indispensable. I have to empower people. We were talking about it earlier, right?
Right.
Empower them, make them stakeholders in the business. And you'll see that the results don't come immediately, but invest time, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Yes, of course, it'll happen.
Wow. That's great. That's great. I'm sure people that are listening to this are saying, I like, one of the things that you keep mentioning that I keep hearing overarching themes, right? You keep talking about long periods of time, right? You're not talking in months or weeks, right? You're speaking in years,
Mhm.
right? You just said, hey, make them part of your business, not 1 year, 2 year, 3, 4 years, 5 years, right? 6 years. to get to here, 8 years to get to this phase, right? I think that's hard for a lot of people to conceptualize.
True, but the basic thing that I said was growing from that existential to a stage
Survival.
where you start, yes, survival to existential to survival to thriving, right? When you get to that stage, then it's easier to set those boundaries and say, how do you do it? But when you're in the middle of, water going over your head, it's hard to breathe, right? So don't be scared because the time shall come. You just have to be focused. You just have to set some goals for yourself, long term, short term, right? And then make sure that you achieve those. And if you don't, you must have a very good reason. And it's a fast fail thing. Don't do it, right? Think of how you can change the trajectory, right? That's important too sometimes. Not everything works. It doesn't work sometimes, right? You have to change. You know, we were like, okay, let's go with the flow and say, try this. If this is not working, I'll give myself time and I'll spend 3 months on this. If I'm not getting anywhere, I need to rethink, my strategy.
Tell me, what is a lesson that you learned from another entrepreneur that they shared with you
Um,
that you were
never
able
to give
to,
up. Never to
yeah.
give up. Change trajectories, but don't give up, right? So change your course, change your strategy, talk to people. I mean, I would say that it helped me when someone gave me that lesson to say, it was amazing. I won't name the person, but he was something who it was something he said one time where I thought, I'm my 8A is going to finish in 3 months. I'm going to die. I don't know what's going to happen. So, okay. So this gentleman, very, very nice mentor to me, said to me, okay, so what is bothering you? So I said, well, my 8A will expire. My contracts will not, I won't get them the way I am now. I don't know how to survive after this. And so I had a whole list of things that were my worries. You know what he did? He said, okay, now pick them up and give them to me. And I picked my worries up and I said, okay. He said, yeah, hand them over to me. I handed them over to him.
Uh-huh.
And he just walked to the trash can and he threw them in there. And he said, you will survive, So don't worry about things that you can't change, but where you can make a change, make that change and go for it. You'll survive.
That's great. You said,
Yeah.
hand them to me
I
and
just
I'll take
remember
them
that
on.
story, right?
That's a good story. I think that's a great story. Are there any other resources that you've learned along the way? Any books, any sayings? You guys have a mission statement that you follow in the group that carries through the organization?
Yeah, so our mission statement is to become a business which provides excellent services to our customers. So our quality policy. So we've been going through certain certifications, not just because you have to survive, but you have to grow also. So I just wanted to also mention that to small business owners is you have to give yourself, the ability to be able to sell to, if you're selling to the federal government or to whichever market, that how would people buy you, right? So our mission was always to get to a level where we are able to provide those services by having the platform that we need to stand on, right? So whether it is getting your QMS done or ISO certification done or your CMI done or your other security clearances that you need to get done to work for something that you want to work for. So unless you put that structure in place, you know you're just not building it on a solid foundation, right? So I think your foundation has to be solid. And that's what I was telling you about. It's not just getting revenues, but also setting aside a budget to invest in things that will help you with a stronger foundation and a continuously strengthened foundation, right? So
Right.
whatever it takes to strengthen your foundation, you need to do it. So that's what I would leave you with is set some smart goals, have your a solid foundation to be able to provide the services that you want to provide. You're not going to build it on a skeleton that has no legs to stand on, right? So I don't know if that answers your question. Maybe I took it to another level.
No, I like taking it to another level. I like taking it to the level. I I just also I like to give people some practical things, right, that they can take. So that's why I ask questions about mission statements and beliefs, and
Mhm,
I ask about capabilities and the confidence versus courage and
mhm,
commitment. And
mhm.
I'm hearing because I even with some of the people that I talk to, other entrepreneurs, they say, "Well, Eric, I don't have the capabilities to do that. I'm not really confident in myself to do that." And I said that should not stop you from starting. Is the lack of the capabilities and lack of confidence. I
So for
said,
for our mission, we really are striving to be an IT provider that is a premier company, and creates and fosters a sustainable environment, right, for growth and happiness. And happiness is very important, right? If you're not happy working somewhere, you're not going to help me too much either, right? So we want to. I'll just these two lines that I had written for our mission is to be a premier IT provider that fosters a sustainable environment for growth and happiness of the highest level of customer satisfaction, while you make the world a better place to live, right? So don't forget
uh,
about your environment, right? Don't forget about, what everything comes with. So our mission is really to be that provider, which will create an inclusive environment where people from all backgrounds, all cultures can come and work together and be part of a team so that we can provide the best services. So the collaboration, the teamwork, and accepting, from all kinds of different cultures, backgrounds, people that can work together as a team. The team has no color, the team has no height, the team has no, visual things that you need to check off, but it has that cohesive spirit.
I like that. Uh, can you? And I know we're getting ready to wrap up, but I haven't heard an area where you had a challenge.
And I had plenty.
I know you have to have some, but I
You know
can't.
what challenges? It's hard to grow, no?
No, I know. I just I haven't heard you express any, and any of their challenges that you've had.
Yeah, so as I said, the challenges, recently working for an organization where we're providing services, if you're especially working for an industry, you need to make sure that there is a thought out strategy on the continuity of your services. Imagine if you were hiring 50 people and your project ends tomorrow. What are you going to do? Fire them? You
Mhm.
know? So you have to be very focused on making sure that what services that you're providing are sustainable. So how do you make that, so I've had challenges where, as I mentioned to you one time, where it was a stop work notice and we're like, what? Not prepared for it at all. But
Right.
today, if I get it, I'm more prepared for it because I'm like budgeting out for things that could happen, right? The risks, remember we talked about risks, to
Mm.
identify the risks in your organization and to be able to have a plan to mitigate those, right? So that's what I would, leave people with the thought about what is the worst that can happen. Think of that. And if that does happen, how you prepared to work around it, right? So we had a challenge, right? I mean, just a few not too long ago, right now, where these 10 people, I was like, what am I going to do with them, right? I don't have a project. But we survived it. We survived it. We had ways to mitigate that. And thank goodness, glory be to the Lord, we're back on our feet.
Mm.
They're not easy challenges. They can cause sleepless nights. And,
Right.
I may be smiling, but I've gone through those and I go through them many times, when
Mm.
during the course of my, my business.
What do your kids do?
What do my kids do? Uh, so yeah, so I'll start with my youngest. He's a creative person. He makes movies and documentaries, and he's a media person.
Okay.
I have two daughters. One of my daughters is she's an artist. She paints, and she raises her beautiful daughters, two daughters. So I have two granddaughters. My other daughter is working in a IT corporation, and she's a COO. And she's got two very brilliant boys who
Okay.
are. I mean, I love seeing the personalities, and that's what I'm saying. It's a continuous growth, not just in your work, but in your
Right.
how you see your families, your children. So, I see these boys, 9 and 10. They have school in the morning, then one of them is a golf champ, like in that age group, under 10, So they
Okay.
have all-rounded, kind of lifestyles where they're playing golf. They will make time when I'm here to play a game with me in the evening before they go to sleep, whatever that is. I don't remember the name, but it's this large board we spread out with cards that you can make sequences in.
Okay.
So having a happy, well-rounded life with your children, grandchildren, whatever that is, actually makes you a more complete person, and you're able to devote better quality time to your work too. I think
Yeah.
that's so important in life.
Yeah.
So
No,
I'm
I
very
agree.
happy to see my children happy, and I'm very grateful to the higher powers for making it happen for me. It was not easy when I came here 25 years ago. I did
Right.
not
Right.
see any of this. But if I can make it happen, everyone can make it happen,
Yeah, I think that's a great word.
whatever they need to do.
I think that's great. Well, why don't we, it's just great catching up. First I want to say I'm really thankful because you were the first person that we released. I had done 4 interviews prior to you, but you're the first person that we released
Oh,
formally
that's good
on the
to know.
podcast. And so even though I had done 4 interviews, it was me like kind of exploratory phase, but yours was literally episode 1 that we released of our podcast. Uh,
I didn't know that. That is so awesome.
yeah, so
Okay.
you actually, yes. So if we here, it's funny. I just pulled it up. I had it up here before, but on Spotify, let me see if I pulled it up for you could see.
Yes, I remember that.
Uh-huh.
I
Uh
remember it was on Spotify, right?
yes, it was on Spotify. I mean, it's still there. I it's a lot of episodes now we're going through. Okay, here we go. So here we're going to share 2019 it was released, episode 001.
Oh my God. Oh
Look
my
at
God,
that.
that's awesome. So I can search on Spotify and find that.
Yes, you can search on Spotify and find it.
Yeah, we were
Yeah,
the NASA award-winning company.
that's right.
It is so. Can I leave you with another thought? So
Absolutely.
it is great to be performing well and doing good service, but it's also equally important to project yourself and market yourself, right? That is, sometimes small businesses forget doing that. It's become second nature to me to write on some topic that I pick once a week or something and just write a
Mhm.
few sentences. And, you get a lot of following. So that just is not your following. It
Right,
is what you stand for, right?
right.
And it's the recognition. And that is very important to be known in the industry.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I actually it's interesting you said that. I've since that time I've interviewed people from the Navy and NAVFAC, right? Some of heads of the small business offices. And one of the things that she mentioned to me was that small businesses do not do a good job of celebrating their wins and their rewards publicly because when she's trying to advocate for small business programs, the people are saying we don't want small businesses because they don't hear those success stories. They don't hear the stories of when a small business has saved the day or if they've done something great because we typically tend to be more reserved where, and not sharing that. So I hope that, through my channels, we've been able to broadcast the stories of excellent people like yourself and all the great work that you're doing and being able to give that platform to folks because I think it is equally important so that some of the customers who may not be aware of all the great things we're doing get to hear that.
Yeah, and maybe if they pick up like one thing or two things from, our conversation here,
Right.
I would feel so much more satisfied and rewarded that, yeah, somebody picked up something like, I mean,
Absolutely.
whatever it is, like something touches your heart, but then keep it close and work on it, right? Build it, right? That's
Right.
very important.
Right.
So,
Exactly. So no, so like you said, I thank you because we've come a long way since that time. And like I mentioned earlier, we've trained over 7,000 small businesses. We've done over 2.5 million views online. And so a lot of people in the industry are reaching out to us for help and support. And believe it or not, since when we started till today, small businesses are now asking for help with promoting their brands and pushing their brands so that they can get that awareness from some of these agencies and organizations they want to do business with, right? Because they thought that just being good was enough. They thought that just doing excellent service, that they would grow, right, by leaps and bounds. And unfortunately, that's not always the case. And for most of us, that's not the case at all.
Yeah. And also, I just one last thought too is, like as I said, you form partnerships, teaming partnerships. If I have two things and you have three others that we can bring together to deliver something that is required or something that's challenging, don't ever be shy of that. Share and form the team, not just within your company, but around you of partners that can bring strength to you or add value to what you're doing. So that value add is very important. And that's a key thing in growth I've noticed is, you know, you don't lose by teaming, you gain, right? And you become stronger.
Well, we can see how you've made it so far, right? All of your words of wisdom. So we can
Oh,
see
thank
that.
you. Thank you.
No,
It's such
no,
a
no.
pleasure to talk to you, Eric. And thank you for the first podcast, which I didn't know was the first one, but I'm so glad to do whichever 100th one it is now and revisit that. It just reminded me of that time that we spoke and,
No, no,
hopefully
thank you. Thank
we
you.
should
And
be in touch.
I enjoyed it. And like I said, I at the time we were sharing the information, wanting to share these stories, and we've learned a lot from you. And I know that my listeners as well have gained a lot from that. So you've helped people in more ways than you probably even know. And so I know this because I hear the stories and I get the feedback from my guests, and they you show what's possible for someone that's coming into this country and what they can do, and so that's encouraging, that's motivating, and so I appreciate you for doing that. So
Can
thank
I
you.
just leave you with one last thought?
Absolutely.
So, this concept. So, I learned from the wisdom that the world has gathered from great personalities and great people who've left us legacy. So, it's not just about you, it's the you that is contributing to the larger community, whether it's through your work, whether it's through your children. Make sure that you're doing everything to make that the best contribution you can have. And in the words of Rumi, who's a great poet, I can never forget, this thing, and it's so symbolic. They have something called, I've not been there, but in Turkey, there where the Rumi festival happens. His philosophy was, there's a dance, a particular dance that they do, which is the whirling dervishes, and they have that motion where they have a hand up and then they have a hand going down, which means you receive and you're the medium and you have to pass it on to the world. Right?
Mm.
So to receive and to give and consider yourself as the medium that is able to let that light or enlightenment pass through you as best as you can without obstacles is probably a lesson that I have taken very close to my heart. And I always feel it's so wonderful to receive, but I'm doubly committed to make sure I return it. Yeah, it's like that.
Okay, I like that. You know what?
Yeah.
I think I've seen people do this, and I had no idea
So
of
they
the.
actually go around whirling while they have their hand up to receive and to pass it on, and they
Huh?
whirl. It's the whirling is like the world is in motion, right? The planets are in motion. We're all in motion. So we're in continuous motion. That's life, right? You know,
Yes. No, we
that's
are. We're all. I mean, all of our. We are continuous motion, and we all connected.
yeah. And don't forget that, it's not about you. You are the medium, right?
We're the medium. No, I like that. We're the medium. So,
Yeah.
no, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time you spent today,
Thank you, Eric. It's
and
been
I
a
thank
pleasure.
you for coming on. And as always, it's always a pleasure speaking to you and seeing your smile. And I love to hear the stories about the kids, and that's great. You know, so I look forward to it, and
Perfect. Thank
hopefully
you so much for the
I'll
opportunity.
run into you somewhere at one of these conferences and events.
Yeah. And if you're in the DC area, let me know. Come over. We can have, lunch,
That
coffee,
that'd be
drink,
great.
whatever.
Yes, I took you up before, right? I took you up
Yeah.
last time when we
Yeah.
passed up.
Yeah.
Where's your office
Anytime.
now?
I'm sorry. It's in the
Where's your?
Tysons area.
It's in Tyson. Okay, okay,
It's across the gallery. Yeah. So we're right in the center of everything which
yeah,
happens.
okay. All right, I got
All
it.
right.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful
Thank you.
day.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye
Thank
now.
you. Bye.